So hello again people, welcome back to Dynamic Racing League's DTM here on of course the Dynamic Racing League network of channels and not RSL_studio or any of that other stuff. Of course we're here for what will be round 5 of the season, so we're approaching the halfway mark, so after this race the ballast will be reset, which some of these guys will definitely be looking forward to. We're here at Brands Hatch on a very uncharacteristically sunny day in the UK, in Kent. Having a look at some of the cars, of course, entered here today. Far larger grid, it would seem, than what we had at the Super Formula last time out. And generally the racing seems to be a bit cleaner in this particular championship compared to the other one. Probably just due to the nature of the cars, but we'll have to see how it pans out. Brands Hatch, known to be a very old school circuit, very narrow in places. Of course, doesn't make FIA Grade 1 specifications for safety, so that's always fun. So it's going to be an exciting one. We have Nilsman, who's currently our fastest guy in practice at the moment, driving the Breitling car of Nookshot Motorsport in the bright yellow. You see the sun bouncing off of that slightly metallic paint job, so they're looking quite strong. Group again looking strong based on practice in the Audi R8 of VRC Fujitsu car. They're just coming up towards the start-finish line. Are they going to improve on their time? No, there's yellow flags over at Paddock Hill, as someone seems to be on the inside, but they've rejoined. Sailor has just gone fastest, so they're here in the next-gen sponsored car, the BMW M6, of course. BMW's still looking extremely strong in this championship. We have GRM Bandit representing Aston Martin and Moonshine Motorsports, as well as the Suicide Prevention. I assume it's a charity. If not, it's certainly a cause. So of course the blue and purple machine should be doing quite well. Of course, coming off a very high note yesterday in Super Formula. I won't spoil that for any potential viewers, but definitely check that out. Wybear, another one of the R8s for HKS Vertigo. Of course, fantastic livery on this one, so should be another one to watch, although Wybear hasn't had as much success as perhaps one would have expected. But we'll have to wait and see how he does. Who else do we have? We have John Wandering in the CVS Pharmacy Aston Martin, also of Moonshine Motorsport, so a teammate of Bandit. Who again still just trying to get the tyres warmed up and such. Feel the grip levels around this very dangerous and high-speed circuit. Alphanut also for VRC. Here competing. Bright orange Texaco machine. Was running a bit of a tribute on the side of that car. I noticed that they recently updated that. We also have, of course, series organizer Dynamic Carbon, who is currently in the pit lane because he doesn't want to show himself in public anymore for some reason. Hello to Groot in the chat, nice of you to join me here. We should, yep, as soon as I thought, we are indeed getting qualifying underway. We also have the likes of TSR Stig here, so he's going to be one to watch. We're going to have 15 minutes of qualifying, and it's going to be GRM Bandit who gets out the pit lane first. Of course, quite a few of these guys a bit limited on practice. I believe King of Talk was meant to be here, but I believe he's having a miss qualifying due to scheduling. His schedule seems to be very busy at this moment. So of course, fantastic weather again in the south of England here at Brands Hatch. And who knows, perhaps we will see Bandit come out on top in the British car at the British circuit. There's Wyber as well, hoping to do, or to have a very solid result, but they just running a smidge wide, but they avoided the gravel, so fair play to them. As there's yellow flags, that's Bandit who span out on the exit of Sheen Curve. So Wyber's back in traffic from all of that. He'll probably need to slow down and get a bit of room, unless he's going to try and use the slipstream. We're going to go on board with GRM Bandit as we show you a lap of the circuit. So coming up to a very bumpy start-finish line across, and then the very famous Paddock Hill Bend. So easy to run wide. Of course on the compression as well, very difficult. The Druid's hairpin again. The uphill approach does help slow the car, but it is a case of how late do you brake before the hill levels off. Then Graham Hill, again nicely taken by Bandit. And then you need to get a very solid exit through here if you're going to have a good run onto the straight. That's definitely one of the corners that I've struggled at in the past. Of course, last season in DRL DTM, I somehow managed to take the win, but that was many months ago. So Bandit's still going around now in the forest section, not taking as much speed as he probably could have through that section. Now coming up to Sheen Cove where he lost it on the last occasion. Again, very easy to run wide. You can see the car fighting for grip. And now heading back towards the Indy Loop, going under the Advan Bridge. And then just final corner to go. And that is a lap of Brands Hatch on the GP circuit. And what time is it going to be from Bandit? It's a 1:25.1 as the starter group smashes it by 1.5 seconds. So that's a 1:23.5. And Nils smashes that even further, so that's a 1:22.992 from Nils, and he's pushed it a bit too much going on to the next lap. So this will be a lap aborted on this occasion. Stig has managed to get up into second after the first laps have been completed, so good to see the Dackel machine on form yet again. He's purple through sector 1 and only 1.5 tenths behind the pace of Nils at this point. So Groot again showing the pace of the Audi. So the Audis are looking strong here today. And Bandit currently the highest of the Aston Martins. And against Sailor, 9.5 seconds back. And then everyone behind them is also not really set a representative time. As Dynamic Carbon goes fastest. Not by much, by a 1/10.5. But it is enough to put them on provisional pole with a 1:22.837. So they're making their way through Druids. So Nils will probably not improve on this occasion. TSR Stig might. We'll have to see as they approach the start-finish line. And it's going to be close. Not quite, although they do improve, but not quite enough. Sailor with a 1:22.2. Where has that pace come from? The Norwegian with a blistering lap time. So he's certainly managed to switch on his tyres very quickly in this qualifying session. 1,000th purple as he went across the sector 1 marker. And perhaps he's using a bit of the slipstream now of Stig, as as he's purple again at the Sector 2 marker. So, very, very pacey stuff from the Norwegian. Yet to win a race this season, if I recall correctly. I may be wrong on that stat. Of course, the likes of TSR Stig and Dynamic Carbon as well, probably carrying quite a bit of ballast. As Stig drops behind Sailor, and in fact Carbon has just gone the new fastest time of a 122.254. Sailor blitzes that again, retaking that. It's a 122.190. So it's extremely close at the top of the standings, but again, it's BMW. It's a bit of a running theme throughout the season. That seems to be the strongest car as Stig loses it in the back. Of course, that R8, I believe they're still using a stock setup, although I'm not sure 100% if that rule was reverted or not. I assume that they're still using a stock setup anyway. So the Audi, of course, with that ballast as well, not going to be doing him any favors, but he is still currently the highest ranked non-BMW in qualifying. They see him just catching up to Nils a little bit. Nils currently third, about 6/10 or so up. Nils lets him go. Very sporting of him. Well, it's not going to be improvement on this occasion, as someone has span at Paddock Hill. It looked like it was Alpha Nut then. So Alpha Nut seemed to have just lost it at the top of Paddock Hill, so that was a bit of an odd one. Normally you lose it midway down as you run wide into the gravel, but we don't have replays on that, unfortunately, due to it being the practice setting for the qualifying. If it was the race setting, then of course we'd have a whole smorgasbord of features such as the replay function. So just over halfway gone in qualifying. Sailor still tops the leaderboards, as someone else seems to get it wrong up at Paddock Hill. Not quite sure who it is. Jimmy, seeming to be rocking a new livery. Of course, they were actually a substitute for Dynamic Racing Team. I believe at least at Blue Moon Bay. I'm not sure if they were as well at Autopolis. I'll have to quickly check that on the entry list. They are indeed on the entry list. I'm just trying to find what team they are under. I can't find it, so I'm going to assume they're running as an independent in this. They might be a part of the Team Spirit group, as that was Bandit, who's no, according to this, Team Spirit still only has Spinnacope, and Spinnacope, haven't actually seen him here, so maybe he's joining a bit later on. We'll have to see. John Wandering, the fan favourite, still going around in the forest section at this point. Doesn't run wide at Sheen Curve, and good exit through there. Oh, someone's gone round. That's Sailor, actually, so the current pole sitter has gone around just after Sheen Cove. Ooh, that was a very... that could have been a very risky move on the rejoin, but manages to survive, not hitting Alpha Nut in the end. So we're just trying to push his limits as he has to go into the pits. Of course, the pit lane, another interesting feature. A bit like Autopolis, it is a very awkward one. So the team's not really having that much of a break when going through their pit lane entries for the last few rounds. But they now rejoin. Still not much to decide from between the top two. Less than a tenth. And the top three are just separated by just over 2/10, so extremely close stuff as we'd expect. Dynamic Carbon diving into the pits. Yep, fresh rubber, no fuel. Hoping that'll give him the advantage. Very meaty engine in that BMW M6 indeed. Nils, currently third, not improving on this lap. They're 3.5, nearly 3.6 seconds down. Looking like they're going to probably let Sailor through or something, was it? It just looked like they was going a bit slow. Someone's gone round again. That's Groot, so Groot's lost it at turn 4, it would seem, on the inside, so perhaps running wide and clipping the grass, and that would send them spinning to the inside. They get back on track. They haven't even picked up damage from that, so that's gonna really hinder the rest of their qualifying, but at the moment they are 5th. And their teammate Alpha Nut in 6th, not that far behind. So the two VRC teammates doing a very good job qualifying both within what would be the finishing points if this was to decide the race. As Nils also came into the pits on that occasion. Alpha Nut actually 2/10 up on their own time, and that could jump them ahead of their teammate. As someone else has gone off at paddock 2, it looks like it's Y-Bear. Yep, Y-Bear off, and he's on the inside, and he hasn't picked up damage, so that's good at least. He'll probably get round and then have one more lap. Again, it's such a tricky track because it is so narrow in places that it's so easy to just get a wheel on the grass. It's a bit like the Nürburgring in that sense. Would you call Brands Hatch the Nürburgring of the UK? Who knows, who knows. It certainly has the characteristics quite similar with the elevation changes as well. As someone has ran a bit wide at, I want to say that's Druids. So someone around this area. Nils about to come across the line to start what will be probably their final lap, judging on the time. We're in the last minute of the session. As someone else has gone off at Sheen Curve. You just see who that is. It looks like someone parked up at the side. There's yellow flags out. I think they just parked. Who? Oh, it's GRM Bandit who's parked it in the gravel trap. So they could have probably managed to sneak onto an extra lap, but decided not to. The tyres are quite fresh. As I get ready to give out the flag warning. So not long to go. Yep, there we go. The flag has gone out. So Dynamic Carbon and Sailor is the last person who will be on a lap. So there's a fair bit of a gap. So Bandit's there. TSR Jimmy's about to come across the line as someone ahead of him did as well on the road. So Jim Jam doesn't improve, and the highest he will get is 7th. So TSR Stig parked up in the pit lane. Groot, it was who had already crossed a Groot, holding on to 5th at this stage, but can their teammate Alpha not do anything? It doesn't look like it. So, some cars parked up. John Wandering coming through. Yep, flashing their lights. Now, they'll probably get out of the way of Carbon, I would think. Indeed, it might have hindered Carbon a bit on his lap. We'll have to wait and see. Carbon coming up towards the start-finish line. It's going to be close. Not close enough. Carbon doesn't improve. Sailor goes into the pits. Nils is already parked up, it would seem. So, I believe that is qualifying just about over, looking at everything on track, and it's going to be the Norwegian Sailor who comes out with the pole position. So congratulations to them. So Sailor takes the pole position. I believe it was Carbon. Wait a second, I'll quickly verify on the live timing at the end of the session. Indeed, it will be Carbon starting alongside Sailor. And then it will be Nils and Stig on the second row. Stig, quite a few tenths back from Nils, of course. With that ballast as well as the stock setup thing. You can also see on the standings that the Audis are looking extremely strong, and the Aston Martins again not looking as strong as we perhaps would have speculated at the start of the season when it was first announced that they would be replacing Mercedes. Certainly it would seem that Mercedes had a bit more success than Aston at this particular stage last season. And of course, different drivers and the like. Different teams as well. So we're having a bit of a slide fest. I suppose this would be a good time to take you through the championship as it stands right now. Currently it's Dynamic Carbon on 31 points, who leads his teammate King of Torque, who's on 20. Then Sailor, pole sitter today, on 18, who they sit third in the standings. And Fast and Loud, who is TSR Stig, they are on 15. Then Gugus, who isn't here today, the Nuke Shot driver, he's on 12 points. Joint 5th actually with Ayrton Spenner, who completely dominated the race that we had at Autopolis, is the place that I'm thinking of, as King of Torque has actually joined the lobby. So he'll be starting from the back of the grid. It's D-Max, also known as TSR Jimmy, who's on 10 points and currently 7th. In 8th it's Spinner Copen with 8 points. Also joint for 8th is I Am Groot, so also on 8 points. Nils only on 7 points at this stage. Of course, a relatively recent mid-season signing by Nuke Shot Motorsport, so hopefully the points will stack up over time, but they're currently 10th in the standings. Alphanut and GRM Bandit currently tied for 11th, both on 2 points apiece, and Y-Bear currently at the bottom of the standings, yet to score a point. As for the team standings, it's Dynamic Esports with a very healthy lead of 61 points compared to Team Black Diamond's 32 points. Then Nuke Shot is in 3rd with 18 points. TSR Motorsport is on 15 points in 4th. In 5th is Team Spirit, not that far behind TSR Motorsports. They're on 14 points, and VRC Motorsport on 13 points. So the battle between 4th, 5th, and 6th in the championship is certainly very heated at this stage. Each team separated by 1 point. Moonshine Motorsport currently on 2 points in the standings, and HKS Vertigo is on 1 point. So it shouldn't be too long until we get the start underway. We're hearing approximately 5 minutes or so from our race director. Hello to It's Driftmeister in the chat, supporting the series organizer. Where is he? There he is. Dynamic Carbon. So he'll be starting on the front row, you'll be glad to know. That rhymed, but I'm not a rapper. Nor do I drink sweet dollar tea from McDonald's. But very close in qualifying, as you can see, less than a tenth separating them from Polsitter Sailor, who is just to the left of shot behind the scoreboard. The driver board. You can just about see the first. The pole time, if King of Talk didn't see it, was a 122.177. The real Slim Radish. I'm starting to wonder who you actually are, like your PSN now or something, Driftmeister. Like, are you the real Slide McGee or something? Who knows? Surely you have to be someone in the lobby. That's who most people are. For some reason I've got a suspicion you might be King of Talk. Hence the Let's Go Carbon. But who knows, we'll be speculating about that all day if I keep this up. So let's check in on GRM Bandit. What's he doing? He's still just sliding about, causing yellow flags. You know, the usual stuff. Yes, the real mystery of dynamic racing leagues. Who is the Driftmeister? Maybe it's Slide McGee's arch enemy, who knows? Jimmy complaining, we're hearing a report from the media that he didn't practice. That is on his own head as opposed to anyone else's, of course. Practice never makes perfect, but it certainly can improve one's performance, as there is no such thing as perfection. Oh, it's Brandon, who's meant to be my co-commentator for today, but unfortunately wasn't able to make it. So nice of you to be with me in spirit, I suppose, here at Brands Hatch. Hope that, you know, things will go alright. It's going to be a very risky turn one. It's going to be interesting to see if Carbon will be able to do anything off the line. If anyone from the second row actually manages to try anything. But any further back, I doubt will be, unless it's a completely insane dive, then, well, we'll have to see. It's Brandon's hatch. You did not... Maybe it was a good thing in the end that I'm doing the solo this round. No offense, of course, Brandon, but that was an awful joke. Grid order has been set to, well, or change to set by host, so Carbon still trying to sort the lobby out, the peasant. Yes, I can get away with saying that on the stream. Not just random race commentary. I probably can't get away with it, but I'll say it anyway. As it is getting dark in the real world, so I am going to turn my light on. Okay, my apologies for the temporary mute of my mic. I should be back now. Just gonna quickly check. Yep, audio check is complete. Hello to Prasetya Yogi. I probably completely butchered that name, I do apologize. But welcome to what is round 5 of Dynamic Racing League's DTM. I hope that you'll enjoy the show, which is going to commence shortly. We've had a very close qualifying session. It was this guy, Sailor 3101, the Norwegian, who came out on top. But it is one thing to come out the fastest on one lap pace, another thing to win a race on race pace. So we'll have to see how that goes. Again, plenty of entries today. I think we've got around 11 total, as we see Dynamic Carbon, the series organizer, still in the pit lane, trying to organize whatever chaos is about to ensue. I'm sure he's got everything vaguely under control. Hi Nils. Nils is probably not watching the stream, but if he watches it back, hi Nils. That's enough Nils for today. No, you can never have enough Nils. Who am I kidding? We'll probably go back to him in the race. Hello to GTS Drag in the chat. The first to last challenge. So I'm going to assume you are our pole sitter, Sailor, in the chat. So nice of you to be joining us here on the stream as well. Oh wait, no, last to first, so that means that you're King of Talk. My apologies, I misread. I can't read to save my life. has the good grammar though, at least. Bandit complimenting Jimmy's livery. We'll quickly see if we can we get a closer picture of that? There it is. Oh, holding that really messes it up. My apologies for the epilepsy that just ensued. So yep, Jim Jam now with a full-time entry in DRL DTM as opposed to just being a substitute. Now, fan favourite has just commented that he has burned the tyres off of his car. That is quite concerning, especially given your team's budget, although you do sell quite a bit of merchandise being the fan favourite, so I'm sure it's not that tight on the budget these days. As the race is finally about to get underway here at Brands Hatch. We've got the final counter from race organizer. And indeed, we're about to get things underway. So of course, Brands Hatch and the Grand Prix circuit. Fantastic weather for racing today. We've got a BMW front row. We've got Sailor on pole. We've got Dynamic Carbon will be on the outside in second. Then Nils in third. Stig in fourth. We're going to have Groot in fifth. Alpha in sixth. Jim Jam in seventh. And GRM Bandit in eighth. We're about to go racing here at Brands Hatch. Green, 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 and the Cosworth Carbon's had an absolutely shocking start. Carbon is really just falling down the order. And that's gonna put Stig off. What on earth happened here? We're gonna have a replay of this. Carbon completely wiped out. Several cars involved. It looks like there was the HKS Vertical of Wybear involved in that. Absolute insanity. We're gonna have to see if we can roughly get like an onboard or something. So Wybear seeming to be the culprit, just missing his braking marker. But through all of that, it's Sailor currently in the lead. Nils looking perhaps to make a move. Somehow Group's managed to get up into third, so fair play to them. So this train is still just about alive as they make their way through the forest section, heading up towards Sheen Curve. It is Sailor, the Norwegian, who leads. He's going to try and create a bit of an island on the gap as Group gets it wrong, and that allows Nils to quite easily dive down the inside of the next corner. So Nils doing a good job. Group's starting to slip back, but again, still in the points. It's the top 6 that receive points as they've come across to complete lap 1. We're going to have some pit stops surely, as indeed those a bit further down the order coming. John Wandering is one, Wybear another, King of Torque yet another. So Carbon interestingly staying out. Carbon didn't pick up damage from that, interestingly enough, but he has fallen off the back of the train. Sailor is indeed starting to get a little bit of a gap. He's pulled out the slipstream range of TSR Stig. So Lord Stig was still doing good, as it looks like Jim Jam is going to try something. He's alongside as they head up towards this extremely fast right-hander. Looks like he's just... oh, there's contact! And that's Jim Jam forced on the grass. I think he's avoided damage at least, so that's good. But a bit of a muscly move from Alpha Knight, has to be said. Of course, if he was a pad user, it might have just been the usual pad twitch. As the field is starting to spread out a little bit at this stage. GRM Bandit just outside the points. He's in 7th at this point. So it could be another good points haul if something were to happen a bit further up the road. In fact, no, he's going to pit because he's picked up damage. So rear aero damage for Bandit. It's not going to change tyres, but he is coming out the pits, and he's going to be behind Dynamic Carbon on the rejoin. TSR Stig still trying to chase down as there's nearly 3 wide. In fact, they are 3 wide for 4th, 5th and 6th, it would seem, and that's Group going wide and on the grass. They lose a lot of time from that. They're going to drop off from that little battle. Jim Jam now trying to fight the other VRC car of Alpha Nut in the bright orange, of course, just having to follow him through at this stage. So we're already seeing some fantastic battles developing. It didn't look like Group picked up any kind of damage from there. It looked like they just sort of ran wide. As Jim Jam is looking extremely close, he's probably going to try something. He's looking to the outside, or perhaps just to get a cut back, a little bit of contact. And it looks like he'll have to stay behind for now. He's going to have the slipstream at least as he comes across the line and towards Paddock Hill, but Paddock Hill's such a difficult place to try and overtake. Really has to be a mistake on the car ahead's part if you're going to try that. These two, as they are scrapping, starting to lose a bit of time to the guys ahead. So the top 3 have started to or rather have started to break away. And they also see the car of Groot in the back. As a smidge further back, it would seem that John Wandering is letting King of Torque go through. So So that was something. Yeah, perhaps he picked up damage or something, and that's Groot again. Groot going on a trip over the grass. He's really not... He's really just unstable with his car at this stage. He's picked up damage from that. He didn't have damage before any of that sliding. So that's extremely unfortunate for Groot as they're side by side going into the last corner. It looks like Jim Jam has just about managed to cut the nose off of Alpha Nut. That sounds extremely painful when said out loud. But he does get ahead and is up into 4th. But Groot, again, something always seems to get in his way, as the battle for 2nd is certainly on. Groot does indeed come into the pits. So Nils doing a fantastic job in the Nuke Shot Motorsport Breitling BMW M6, now chasing down the R8 of the TSR Stig, who runs wide in the Daqua machine, the Daqua sponsored car in the purple and blue. Again, some fantastic livery ship being shown as someone has ran wide turn. Oh, it seemed like it was a bit of a lag spike actually. Who was it? It was Carbon. Let's see if we can quickly get a replay. Yep, Carbon just went straight on and then eventually got reset from that. So we're going back with this battle. Someone else has actually just gone off. Who on earth? It must have been Bandit, because Bandit has just left. So that's extremely unfortunate to see GRM Bandit go, unless there was some kind of disconnect it might be. Bandit not normally one for rage quitting, as the term is. So Misa thinks that it must be some kind of disconnect. We'll have to perhaps get that clarified after the race. We'll have to see, or maybe in the chat. Nils still extremely close to the back of TSR Stig. It looked like there was a bit of a position change for the back. I'll quickly check. Carbon not really around anyone. So we'll go back to this. Nils still trying to hunt him down through the forest section. There you see the gap that Sailor has managed to get, as these two are now scrapping it out. Bit of a slide. Again, Stig picking up a little bit of dirt on their tyres as they run onto the grass. So the M6 with the front engine rear drive layout seeming to be a bit more stable than the mid-engine R8. Going on board with Nils as he comes up to the last corner. And up towards Paddock Hill yet again. Won't be close enough to try anything, but he is sticking in the slipstream range, just hoping for a mistake. And in fact, a bit of a commentator's curse, unfortunately, as he himself runs a bit too deep through Paddock Hill and is now out of that slipstream range. And perhaps the R8 just a little bit faster through there as well. We'll have to see how this develops. Certainly an interesting little battle, but Stig will be more than happy that he's managed to get out of the slipstream range, or has broken the slipstream range rather, down to Nils. And again, a bit of the commentator's curse, as Nils is now within the 7/10 again to go down the straight. We'll have a bit clearer air as he's further back, rather than being right up to the bumper of Stig. There is TSR Stig, still doing a good job holding on to second, especially with the kind of ballast that he is having to run here today. Nils just drops a wheel on the grass. Again, Stig running it extremely close to the limits. If anyone, doesn't matter your drivetrain layout, if anyone touches the grass on the exit of the last turn, they are more than likely going to spin it, as there's something going down a little bit further back. It's King of Torque catching up to the back of Dynamic Carbon, their teammate. So these two currently first and second in the championship. And Torque is looking to the outside. So Torque from the red car, Carbon in the blue. And round the outside he goes. What a fantastic move from King of Torque. So proving that Paddock Hill is certainly an area that you can pass, albeit with an element of danger involved. These two both fighting for the last point, as they're currently 6th and 7th, but it seems that King is certainly getting a bit of a gap over good old Waddle Dee. There was a bit of a tyre squeal coming from King's car. You can tell that he pushes the tyres a fair bit more. We saw that at Autopolis, was that he burned the tyres out quite quickly. Further back, I Am Groot, still going, didn't, actually had a decent start, but then ended up losing out quite a lot, which was extremely unfortunate. John wandering up into 9th, and Wybear completing the top 10, and the only 10. He's being lapped at this stage, it would seem, by the leaders. So perhaps this could be the opportunity that Nils needs in order to get past. We'll have to see. Blue flag's being waved, as you can see, completely blocking the camera view. You'd think that Jack Wilkinson would be a bit smarter than to put the camera right in front of the marshal, but there you go. So Stig's still looking quite strong at this stage. Will eventually have to find his way past his R8 brethren, as someone gets a very slidey slide on the exit of turn 4. It looked like it was King of Torque. We'll see if we can get a quick replay. Yep, just clipping the gravel. Could have been a lot worse for King, to be honest, but there it is. Both of these guys have managed to get past Wybear at this point. And if anything, the gap seems to have increased a little bit. We'll have to monitor how the tyre wear goes between these guys, but about nearly 10 completed laps into the race, and it is Sailor who currently is in the lead of things. Qualified pole is starting to pull a bit of a gap, 5.5 seconds. King of Torque is actually the car with the fastest lap of the race, with a 122.172, but they are currently down in 6th and not looking like a potential threat to Sailor at this stage. The threats mainly consist of the R8 of TSR Stig and the BMW M6 of Nilsman. Where's Alphanut actually? Alphanut only back there, so Alphanut has lost a bit of time to the guys ahead, but is nonetheless still in the points, well in the points as well, so they're up into 4th. And Jimmy, and I believe what this is his first outing as a private entry in this series as opposed to being a substitute, doing an extremely good job, probably starting to close down the gap a bit to Alphanut. So looking to get as many points as he can on the board. As again, Nils looking a fair bit closer than he was before, so he's starting to make a bit of a charge again. Coming through turn 4, you can see the different lines. Nils going for a much earlier apex than Stig. And they're well in the slipstream. We're going to a rear wing cam shot. You can see the lights being flashed on the BMW M6 behind Stig. Well done through there, as we actually had an off from someone. It looked like it was Alphanut actually, so we'll see if we can get that. Indeed, they went off. at turn 4, so that's extremely unfortunate, right where the Indy Loop and the GP circuit sort of branch off. So they have indeed lost the position to TSR Jimmy. I'll be hoping to not lose the position to King of Torque, who's only 4.2 seconds behind. And now look at this, Nils has finally gone close enough to try and move. He's going around the outside of Paddock Hill and he's pushed into the gravel, just about, slight nudge, but he manages to just about save it from being completely shoved in the wall, I suppose. We'll see if we can get an onboard of this then. Oh, can we? Ah, camera, please. My apologies, the camera not being as responsive as I would like. I mean, I did find this keyboard in my wardrobe one day, so, and now there's a fly in the room. Fantastic. I mean, in the booth. I'm definitely doing this in a proper commentary booth. Nils still all over the back of TSR Stig. They make their way through the forest section, heading down and then up again towards Sheen Curve. The elevation probably starting to take its toll on the tyres. And in fact, as these guys are still scrapping it out, Sailor is approximately 10 seconds up the road from them both. Nils is looking extremely close on this occasion as well to perhaps get a run on the slipstream and try something. No, he's looking to just put himself in the mirrors of Stig and just try and psych him out into a mistake. A very solid run through Paddock Hill, it has to be said, from Nils on that occasion. He just about continues to close up. It seemed like the R8 had a bit more actual corner speed able to carry. On the exit, BMW closing up yet again, going on board with Nils's car. You can see his last lap was a 1:24.1, and he's going to be in the slipstream. It's probably not going to be quite close enough, not the exit he would have wanted out of 4. You see the marbles also building up on the outside of the track, as I believe we're just seeing Sailor has just lapped. That's John wondering. So yep, Sailor with a 9.5 second gap, nearly 10 seconds. So extremely dominant stuff again from that car. It's not just a case of Ayrton Spencer being extremely dominant. It would seem that that car in general has really picked up quite a lot of pace over the last few rounds. As Stig has ran wide into the gravel and is in the wall! And that is going to be... it's a good thing his car wasn't front engine, because that would have certainly been engine damage, but it is aero and suspension. We are going to have to see a replay of this on board. So it seems that he just misjudged the power application. The car just went straight on in the gravel, and that tyre wall, extremely unforgiving. Really unfortunate stuff for TSR Stig. He'll be hoping that he doesn't lose too much time from this. It's currently on lap 14, so we'll probably need to pit. Maybe he'll be hoping at least to have gotten a few more laps out of the tyres, but not able to on this occasion. The next car back is actually TSR Jimmy, although I believe there's a lap car between them. But TSR Jimmy is 11 seconds back and gaining. TSR Stig surely has to come into the pits indeed, and this pit lane entry is going to be very difficult for them with the suspension damage in particular, but they're in. That was an extremely fast animation. And they are fueling up slightly. I'd assume that was what the hold was. But they've rejoined, and in fact TSR Jimmy just behind. So Jim Jam's going to have a run through Paddock Hill. He's going to look to the outside through Druids. Is he? No. Backs out. But Jim Jam looking only 1 second, in fact less than that at this point, between them and a podium position. Although they of course are yet to make their pit stop after having a relatively clean race so far. You can see the tyres worn a bit, but not worn to the extent as it would actually start affecting lap times. But Jim Jam starting to get all over the back of them, and as these two are starting to scrap out, it's going to turn into a three-way fight as King of Torque is only 3 seconds back from these guys, and in fact Alpha Nut, who is in 6th, only a further 2.5 seconds back, and in fact even Dynamic Carbon isn't that far back, only around 3.3 behind Alpha Nut. So if they really start battling, we could have the mother of all trains going through, as there's a bit of a scrap further down the field. This is John Wandering and Nilsman actually. So Nils trying to get through John Wandering with the blue flags. Indeed, goes through quite nicely. Again, just getting a bit paranoid regarding damage. Nils, of course, driving for Nukeshot Motorsport, my own team, so got to check in on these things every now and again. So the gap's starting to increase a little bit actually, so Stig's done a good job breaking the slipstream. He'll probably be having the slipstream of the HKS Vertigo car of Wybear just ahead of him. You can really see, so unfortunate to see that amazingly beautiful Dacqua livery just scuffed and bruised on the front section. That tyre barrier has to have hurt. It'll certainly have shaken Stig's confidence a little bit, as is that someone running a little bit wide? Oh, it didn't quite, it looked like someone just disappeared out of camera shot, but it was also the HKS Vertigo car of Wybear just pulling off to one side. Wybear quite a far way back actually, which is quite unfortunate. 25 seconds from John Wandering. So, again, another battered and bruised R8. I believe that's Dynamic Carbon who's just ahead of them on the road. So Carbon currently in 7th, just outside the points. You can see the next car up the road in the points, which is Alpha Nut, as he goes purple through Sector 1. So really showing no signs of the tyre wear that he is currently going through, us not really making a pit stop. Again, Dynamic Racing Team seeming to be very strong on one lap pace. We can see King Torque currently with the fastest lap of 1:22.0, and Dynamic Carbon again just going purple sector through sector. As there was a little bit of a slide from, I believe that was TSR Jimmy actually. Yep, in the Aston Martin. Not to be confused with the other white Aston Martin of fan favourite. Good old John Wandering. You'll see how cautious Stig is through Paddock Hill. It's certainly not shaking his nerves at all on that occasion. Still running it as he would do. Because King of Torque has just about gone ahead of Alpha Nut actually. Or at least the gap is starting to close down. In fact, no, I think that is indeed as you were. It's just that the gap has closed down quite a bit. So Alpha Nut looking to try something as Carbon goes a bit wide. So the cars, although starting to go out a bit, as Nils has actually left. Nils must have disconnected. So that's who was in second place. Nilsman has just disconnected. This is as Alpha Nut has now gone side by side with King and easily gets through on the inside. King's looking to get a cutback. They're side by side and they're coming up towards Shinkov. Surely not. Somehow they managed to survive, and this is bringing Carbon into the picture. What fantastic racing and respect shown by these guys. Battling for 4th, 5th and 6th respectively now because of the unfortunate disconnect, I can only assume, of Nils. As that's King of Talk actually crossing the white line quite severely, missing the pit lane egg tree borders and going into the pits. So yeah, this is the second race in a row that Nilsson has disconnected. No look at all for the nuke shot lads. And apparently Robert Smith, who is the account of GRM Bandit, who ended up being the first of our retirements, apparently left due to some rumours that some people couldn't see him on the track and didn't want any kind of shenanigans going off that way. So respectable reasons, it has to be said, but extremely unfortunate, as we're having a bit of a scrap here. So King of Talk seemed to rejoin behind Groot, or Groot has managed to get an overtake. So King of Talk looking all over the back of him, as someone has gone very slow. Who was that? It just looked like someone who would... I am extremely confused. It looked like someone was going slow momentarily. We'll go back to this, because this is an exciting fight as King goes down the inside of the bright pink Fujitsu car. They're side by side on the run up to Paddock Hill. The Audi seems to have a bit of the straight line advantage. It's V10 versus V8. King manages to outbrake the R8 and doesn't run wide at Paddock Hill, but these two still scrapping it out. Groot looking to the outside and perhaps a bit of a cutback is in order. No, not quite. Very tense stuff. We're hearing that it was just John Wandering letting the TSR guys get past, so that's second and third, as our race leader has gone into the pits. Groot very nearly gets it wrong and has somehow managed to save that. Just look at an onboard. If it was CJ, he would not have been able to save that, I am just saying. But Sailor has rejoined down in 7th actually, so King of Talk, who has made a pit stop, has got out ahead, and quite significantly. What on earth happened to Sailor? So Sailor's really just dropped down the order, unless there was a fantastic strategy call from Dynamic Esports, which could be the case, to try and get a quite substantial undercut. But Sailor's been left pretty much in the middle of nowhere through all of this. Surely they haven't had like an incident or something. That's entirely possible. But unfortunately we would just about miss that. It's TSR Jimmy who's gone. And what on earth has happened to... Oh, Stig's in the lead, of course. I was wondering what happened. I am blind today, my apologies. But it is TSR Stig who is our race leader at this stage, followed by fellow TSR countryman Jim Jam. And Sailor has... Now Sailor's gone through and he's back in the lead? He's a minute and 33, a minute and 34 up the road. Right, so this has to be some kind of technical issue. He's gaining a second every second on TSR Stig. They're both on lap 22, so... as Stig's just gone through, I think everything has fixed itself, so the gap is 22 seconds. As Alpha Nut has gone into the pits for VRC. Where are they going to rejoin? They're going to rejoin in quite the scrap, actually. as that's one of the HK's Vertigo cars, and that is Dynamic Carbon trying to go around the outside, just about avoiding damage as there was a smidge of contact, but Alpha Nut is now in a Dynamic Esports sandwich as King is looking to go down the inside. Carbon also overhead, just lapping Y-Bear. So they went 3 wide temporarily on the run down to Graham Hill Bend. Oh, Alpha Nut has just about left enough room on the inside. Can't do that with a driver like King of Torque. He will take any advantage he can get. Now it's going to be a question of will the slipstream overspeed will be enough to try anything down the inside going into the next fast right-hander. Doesn't look like it. King of Torque sticks behind. Blue flag still being waved as someone's gone off the track. I assume that's just to stay out of the way of people. I believe it must have been John wondering or someone's just stopped at the side of the road, but these two still extremely close to each other. Alpha Nut is holding on for now. In fact, their teammate Groot is not overly far behind this scrap as well, as that's Carbon following John Wandering into the pits. So it couldn't have been John Wandering who was parked for the side of the road. Who was that? Was it Y-Bear? Who's around that part of the circuit? As Alpha Nut runs wide into Druids, and the move is quite easily made. So King of Torque up into 4th, as we're also seeing Dynamic Carbon getting past John Wandering. So who on earth? Nah, it wouldn't have been Sailor, surely. Well, Sailor currently purple in Sector 1, so he's still improving on his times. Really impressive stuff. Unless it was some kind of lag spike, I don't know. Again, yet another mystery has escaped me. I do apologize for that, but King of Torque being chased down by Alpha Nut, and again, the VOC teammate Groot. This one is certainly not over. Alpha Nut in the slipstream as someone has just gone into the pits. That is indeed Groot, who's just gone into the pits, their teammate. And Dynamic Carbon was actually ahead of these guys a fair bit earlier. Perhaps it was Dynamic Carbon that went off on the fast right-hander, so that would explain why they've dropped back a bit. They haven't picked up damage from it either way. I just got the HK's Vertigo of Y-Bear to get past TSR Stig on very much an island. It is fellow TSR countryman Jim Jam in 3rd rather, for Sailor still our race leader, as Alpha Nut has dropped back a little bit from King of Torque. As a bit further back, I think there's something going off. This is Groot getting past John Wandering, as something else has just happened. I want to say, was it Carbon, or I think it was just Y-Bear getting past by the likes of Carbon and such. Just looking at the track map for this sort of stuff. As someone has gone round, who's that? Who on earth is that? Who is on an island? It was Stig, was it? We'll see if we can get a replay of something. Oh wait, no, it was our race leader who had went round, so Sailor lost a heap of time from that. So the gap down to 13.8 seconds, so that would have shook his confidence a bit. He'll be happy that he got away without any damage. He's still our race leader. I suppose it also helps that he does have that kind of buffer to TSR Stig, as King is really starting to extend the gap down to Alpha Nut in 5th. Carbon in the last point position in 6th, as the guys in 8th and 9th respectively. This is an actual on-track battle that's not separated by different laps. This is a battle for second to last. As Wybear gets it wrong, they just about managed to save it. They went on the grass. Now on the run down towards Paddock Hill. The battle of not being last is on. John Wandering runs a little bit wide on the exit of Paddock Hill. Someone's gone round at turn 4. That's Alpha Nut. So Alpha Nut's going to lose out to Carbon. So these two are going to be side by side. It looks like Carbon's just about going to have the run. Although Alpha Nut manages to defend that then, down the inside. Of course it looked like Carbon was just about ahead, but Carbon backed out of it. Going back to this, Wybear again just on the grass, losing out a little bit of time. So John Wandering, the fan favourite, doing an extremely good job. It'll be interesting to see how who is it, Groot, who's just coming up to lap them, as there's Wybear getting it completely wrong on entry to Sheen Curve and just sliding out. Of course, so easy to do in the Audi R8, but unfortunate stuff for them. So John Wandering has come out on top of that scrap, but we'll have to see whether Wybear can recover from that, as Alpha Nut still ahead of Dynamic Carbon at this point. Carbon looking to chase them down. We're going to go on board, not the rear wing cam, we'll go, keyboard. We're going for the bonnet cam. And on the straight, it's actually the Audi that's pulling away. As I could be wrong, a bit further back it looked like there was a bit of contact, as Alpha Nut actually just about avoids the gravel on that occasion. As these two are just about side by side, so Groot does indeed go through. I haven't picked up damage from that. Back to this then. Just trying to catch as many overtakes as we can, even if they are ones being lapped. So Alpha Nut having to defend it, they've probably gone a bit wide from that. No. Okay, difficult to tell from some of the camera angles, but Alpha Nut holding on. And doing a very good job holding on as well. I'm just going to quickly check in on King of Torque. So they're coming up to... that's Jim Jam, so this is the battle for 3rd place coming back alive, so King's made up quite a lot of time to be back up there with TSR Jimmy. It's not quite as close as the one for 5th, but one to monitor in a little while as that gets a bit closer. Carbon seeming to carry just a bit more speed through that section. Oh, Alpha Nut, bit of a slide, or a bit of a twitch. Surely not going to try anything through Sheen. Nope. But again, Carbon for Dynamic Esports looking the more stable of the cars out there, the more confident of the drivers out there, it has to be said. They make their way onto what will be lap 29, completing lap 28. Still King of Torque with the fastest lap of 1:22.0. That hasn't been bettered by anyone since earlier. So, still making their way through Druids. Good stuff. Alpha Nut still just about holding on. Groot has gone into the pits again. So what's happened with Groot? Groot's picked up damage. Can we see if this was anything here? No, so it must have happened a bit earlier around on the lap. I do apologise again for just about missing that. So Alpha Nut still defending, still doing a good job, as I think the battle for third is coming alive between TSR Jimmy, who gets a little bit of a slide on the exit. We've been seeing that as a bit of a characteristic of some of the Aston Martins here. A little bit slipperier than the BMWs, seem to just be a bit more planted. King of Torque is going to try something extremely close as they come across the line. Jim Jam leaves the inside open, and that's a very easy move for King of Torque to pull off. You cannot give him that kind of space. Will Jim Jam be able to try anything on retaliation? It doesn't look like it. He's all over the road again, trying to use every little bit of the track. As King runs a little bit wide for my liking, heading up towards turn 4. So we've got two fantastic scraps going on right now. Currently Alpha Nut still ahead of Carbon, but it looks like that might be changing quite soon. Meanwhile, this scrap looks like they're still going about single file. So we'll cut back to this. Again, the R8 seeming to have been set up with a lower downforce setup or something to be able to be faster than the BMW of Carbon on the straights, even though they have slipstream. Oh, again, extremely close to going in the gravel, but holds on. So King's starting to get a bit of a gap to Jim Jam. As Jimmy gets it completely wrong on the entry to Paddock Hill. So F's in chat for that. He's going to reverse back on. He's going to have to try and rejoin the track safely, as the battle for now 4th is on. Indeed, that could have been extremely sketchy if the battle was a bit further around the lap, but no. So Jim Jam, no damage, but just completely span out. So that's extremely unfortunate for another one of the fan favourites, it has to be said. But no, at least he's still within the points. He's in 6th. But he would be hoping for quite a lot more. Someone else has gone off at Paddock Hill. As who was that? That's John Wandering. John Wandering, who's in 8th, so the battle for second to last is back on. Both of these guys getting blue flags as TSR Stig is about to come through as well. But this is another fantastic rivalry. Yes, I is speak today. That we're seeing. F in chat for the cones that have been knocked over, as well as Wyber nearly gets forced, in fact does pretty much get forced onto the grass, as they do indeed let Stig go through. I think John Wandering's going to wait it out a little bit. As John Wandering's gone off. John Wandering's off, and Whitebet extremely close to smacking him. That could have been an absolute disaster, but John Wandering, unfortunate with that mistake, has dropped them back down. TSR Stig extremely lucky to get through safely. Again, the battle for 4th still going, as Carbon looking a lot closer than he was on previous laps, as TSR Stig actually into the pit. Did Stig pick up damage? No, he didn't. He might have repaired it a bit earlier. No, indeed, Stig didn't pick up damage. He just went into the pits again. Perhaps to try his best at setting fastest lap or something, because he had that buffer down to King. I'm just not taking any chances, as Carbon now goes to the outsideline.com. And might try to get a bit of a cutback. Isn't working out for him. He's going to try and get a bit of a run. Alpha Nut does well to defend the inside through there. Again, very close on track limits. Carbon taking a bit of the grass midway through Paddock Hill. In fact, that's TSR Jimmy coming back into the frame as well. So Jim Jam certainly not out of the battle for fourth just yet. We're on lap 33 of 43, so about 10 to go at the end of this one. Still Sailor that leads, but we're currently watching the battle for fourth. Just outside of the podium, of course, it is Alpha Nut, Dynamic Cover, and TSR Jimmy, again, just not that far back at all. Alpha Nut going through, solid line. Just having to just not crack under pressure is the main thing. It is extremely difficult to make a pass through any of the forest section without it being an error of the driver in front, so it just needs to keep his cool. And Carbon seeming to get a bit of a better exit. Again, covered off by Alpha Nut. Jim Jam is starting to look a lot closer than he was before. He is still about 1.1 seconds back. Carbon looking ever closer. Our championship leader's still hungry for those points. He'll also be hoping that he can get past before Jim Jam manages to catch up to the back of him. I think that is probably not going to happen due to the fact that Jim Jam is just about within the slipstream range. I might just have gone out of it on the exit. But again, extremely close stuff for 4th, 5th and 6th respectively. This far into the race as well, we've had about 47.5 minutes of racing, and it's still this close. As again, Alpha Nut seems very confident on running extremely close to the gravel through that section, compared to some of the other guys. It looked like Jimmy might have just about clipped the grass again, as there's a slide. There was a mistake from Alpha Nut, and he's left the inside open, as he has to sort of slot back in, and now he's behind Carbon. So indeed it was just a matter of a mistake being made and Carbon managing to capitalise. So good stuff by the Irishman, the Waddle Dee, and everything else that he is, the series organiser, of course. As now it's Jim Jam going down the inside of Druids, and it oversteers into him, and that's Jim Jam off. We're gonna have a replay of this. So this is the contact that just sort of sent Jimmy wide, unfortunately. But Alpha Nut doing the sporting thing and letting him back through, but that's both rear suspension and rear aero damage to Jim Jam's car. Extremely unfortunate incident. Jimmy just telling him to go and get going, not to hinder his race anymore, I assume, because of course he'll just be losing time, as Jim Jam does have that damage. Jim Jam just cannot catch a break recently, it would seem. He'll be extremely lucky at this rate if he stays in the points, I would say, especially with Guru only around 22 seconds back and closing. Surely he's going to have to come into the pit on this attempt. Yep. He knows he'll probably lose too much time otherwise. So it's gonna repair, and is actually gonna be quite comfortably ahead, it would seem, as that's our race leader, Sailor, just about going through. So Sailor, nearly a half a minute gap down to TSR Stig. Last lap was at 122.4, so it's had very consistent pace, it would seem, as well. Of course, some F's in the chat for Jim Jam yet again, so much appreciated as he's fighting for traction on the exit of Graham Hill Bend. Perhaps he'll go for honour and try and unlap himself, although that would put himself at extreme risk if he was to go wrong. As someone else is coming into the pits. Who's that? As Alphanut gets it wrong, we just cut to him at the wrong time. Alphanut gets it completely wrong and is into the wall as someone has gone round. That's Y-Bear. What's happened to Y-Bear then? So this is coming through Graham Hill Bend. He just runs too wide, trying to get too wide of an entry. Rolls all the way up the hill. Lucky to avoid damage, I would say. But they're still down in 8th. John Wandering still 9th, and 13 seconds back even after that. Good to see some activity in the chat. Hoping that you're enjoying the broadcast that we're having at the moment. Of course, at Brands Hatch for round 5 of Dynamic Racing League's DTM. It's BMW, Audi, BMW at this stage for the top 4, then another Audi, and then the first of the Aston Martins in 6th with TSR Jimmy. As King is going into the pit. Okay, so King's going into the pits. He's going to change tyres. He's already got fastest lap, so I don't know what he's thinking. He just about comes out ahead of Carbon, so he's probably just trying to make sure that he doesn't lose it. As it was also Carbon going past John Wandering was that close action on track. Trying to see what's going on here. So Jimmy is actually ahead of Groot, it would seem. I mean, rather ahead of Alphanut. Both on the same team. Of course, they're completely different cars in terms of the very bright colour scheme. But Jim Jam now back ahead of Alphanut after Alphanut, of course, made their pit stop for damage. Jim Jam still soldiering on. So not that many laps left to go in this one. Our race leader on lap 39 hasn't quite lapped the whole field, but he is 30 seconds ahead of the guy in 2nd. So extremely consistent drive from Sailor. It has to be said, the Norwegian doing a good job. And it doesn't look like it's going to be a Brit on the top step of the podium in Brands Hatch, that's for sure, as there's another spin. As that's also John Wandering going off. We'll see if we can catch... Who on earth was it? Was it Jim Jam? It was indeed Jim Jam! So Jimmy losing it on his own on the exit of Sheen Curve. Looking to avoid damage. I have no idea how he's managed that. He'll be continuing on now though. But of course he loses the position to Alphanut. As we have another spin, that's Groot. So what happened in Groot's case? Everyone seemed to lose it in the latter stage of the race, losing it before going into the gravel. That seemed quite reminiscent of what happened to one of the Aston Martins, if I recall correctly earlier. So he's fallen back a bit. checking on some of the cars. There's about a 4.7 second gap between King and Carbon, currently 3rd and 4th respectively for Dynamic Esports, as Carbon's actually just ran into the gravel a little bit, seeming to survive on that occasion. I think the closest on track at the moment is probably Alphanut and Jimmy. So Jimmy still trying to recover from that spin, because these two were involved in quite a serious incident earlier on. Because from what I saw of it, it looked sort of like a racing incident. Stewards might have to look into it a bit later on in a bit more depth, but I'm just saying what I appeared to have seen. But Jim Jam's starting to close back down. He's just about within the slipstream. He needs a very good exit out of turn 4. And he's slipping and sliding a bit, but seems to have just about got it. We're going to go on board with Alphanut's car on the rear wing cam. It's a 124.7 from the Brit last time round. His fellow Brit chasing in the British car on a British circuit. Plenty of British things here today at Brands Hatch. Again, you can see the difference in terms of Alphanut being a lot more confident on that particular exit curve midway through the forest section compared to a lot of other people, as Jim Jam closes up a fair bit under braking and also has a very strong exit. He's going to look to the outside, is he? He's not quite going to be able to get it on that occasion. I don't think he's going to have quite the run he needs in the slipstream going up towards Paddock Hill, but just putting on the pressure, making his presence known, that is certain. As he goes for a wide entry, very late apex, that could be the ticket, but no, Alphanut holds on. As Jimmy's now looking to the inside, and that's Alphanut actually just running wide. Need to see a bit of a replay on this. I didn't quite see if there was contact. We'll go on board. Nope, no contact. So that was just a case of Alphanut getting it wrong under pressure. So, good job by Jimmy to put on the pressure in the first place. Carbon still doing a good job up in 4th. I'm just checking on where everyone else approximately is. There's Wyber in the HKS Vertical machine. John Wandering, the fan favourite, down in 9th. 3 laps down. So our race leader is now on the final lap of this one. We're seeing... looks like... yep, that was just King getting past the HKS Vertigo. King, yeah, look at his fastest lap that he's been setting actually. A 121.7, that's extremely impressive stuff from King in these latter stages of the race. It's been a very solid drive, though, it has to be said. Pole to almost certain victory at the stage. He's just got the forest section and the last part of the Indy look to go for Sailor. Extremely dominant display by the next gen car of Team Black Diamond. He makes his way through John Wandering. John Wandering could take him out, we don't know. Nah, I doubt that John would do that. John's a very sporting person indeed. It is indeed going to be Sailor who comes across the line to take the win, and Slide McKee's his way across the line. Fantastic drive from them here today at Brands Hatch. Unbelievable drive, finishing approximately 30 seconds up the road from this guy, TSR Stig, as Jimmy has just come across the line in 5th, a lap down in the end of things. as Alphana also comes across the line. Stig about to, so Stig will take second in this, and that's Groot getting it wrong in the last sector, or the last corner rather, exit. Just sort of spinning, but not really under any pressure from behind. So there they are, Alphana of course in 6th. King of Talk just rounding the final corner. So they will come home with a very solid 3rd, they'll be happy with that. Championship leader, Carbon, perhaps would have hoped for a bit more, but they will come home in 4th, and that's Wybear with coming home as the last of the finishers in 8th. John Wondren, of course, crossed the line earlier in 9th. It is this guy who stands on top. Sailor, congratulations to them. What a race it has been, action-packed from start to finish. Pole to victory though in the end for Sailor. Qualifying has certainly helped them in that one to stay out of the carnage. But yet another win for Team Black Diamond, 2 in a row. So looking to be putting in a shift for the Teams Championship as well, despite only having 1 car. I'll quickly save the replay before I forget, otherwise Carbon will shout at me. Here are the results at the end of things then. Sailor taking the win by 31.7 seconds from TSR Stig in the R8 LMS. King of Talk making it 2 BMWs on the podium and 1 of Dynamic Esports, representing of course the series organisers team. They came home 52 seconds back in 3rd. Then Carbon in 4th, Jimmy 5th, Alpha Not 6th, VRC Groot in 7th, and it's then Wybear for HKS Vertigo in 8th. John Wandering, the last of the finishers, in 9th, but still a fantastic display we saw between them and Wybear, it has to be said, scrapping it out midway through the race. Of course, the ones that didn't finish our retirements were Nils for Nukeshot Motorsport. Hearing it was a disconnect, so similar to what happened to them at Autopolis, extremely unfortunate for them. The Nukeshot Motorsport will have to be looking into fixing whatever technical issues were on that car in the future. I will certainly get on that. And of course GRM Bandit for Moonshine Motorsports in the Suicide Prevention livery car, if you recall, the blue and purple. They also didn't finish, unfortunately. So we're gonna see if we can get some interviews. We'll start off with our race winner, of course, as it makes sense. We'll see if they respond, but again, fantastic racing at Brands Hatch. The old school circuit provided some old school racing, and it was, well, I enjoyed the show, at least I hope you guys have as well. We've had a fantastic stream, it has to be said. Currently 8 viewers. As soon as I say that, it's dropped down to 7, but of course it's been an absolute blast to be able to commentate this yet again. Now we will be having the ballast reset, so it's only going to be the top 3 who take ballast going forward into the next round, but the rest of their ballast up to this point will be reset. So Sailor will be on 3%, it'll be Stig on 2%, I believe, and then it will be King of Talk on 1%. So Carbon just about managing to get out of ballast, or get out of the ballast zone at least. Sailor isn't responding, but I'll set up a party chat. Just see if we can get him in. Okay, so the invite has been sent to Sailor. Still waiting for a bit of a response from them. Haven't seen them type anything to me in the chat. As indeed we do have Sailor finally in the chat with us. If you could just quickly go into your party settings and check, make sure your voice share settings are on just before we start the interview as standard procedure, okay? Are they on always allow?
Where are they?
It should be under party settings.
Oh, party settings.
I mean, the chat's probably going to tell me if they can hear you or not anyway, but...
Yeah.
Right, it's on always allow?
Yep.
Alright, good. So, Sailor, fantastic result here today at Brands Hatch, upsetting quite a lot of the locals, of course the main amount of the field being British, of course you being Norwegian. It has to be a very dominant display, especially after what your substitute did last time out at Autopolis. How much would you say qualifying helped in your performance here today?
I would say it helped quite a lot, actually. Yeah, and the start was very good. I think Carbon had a little bad start, so I saw I was quite clear coming out of 21. So that was great. Got a gap pretty quickly actually. So very happy with that. I was doing a race in another league last night, so at Brands Hatch. So I think that helped me quite a lot actually.
Right, so that's always good to hear. Just thinking mid-race actually, I'd noticed on the stream, just about caught it on the replay, you had a bit of a scare just entering the last sector with a bit of a spin. What was you thinking as that happened? Do you think that the chance was slipping away?
It was a massive Kobe Brown moment, definitely. But I saw King of Torque had the fastest lap, and I knew I had the pace, so I wanted to try and beat it, and I had quite a gap to TSR, so TSR Stig. So, but just pushed a little bit too hard, and was quite lucky to not get damage out of that. But yeah, that was quite scary, to be honest.
Yeah, well, you persevered and you've managed to get another win for Team Black Diamond, so congratulations, and hope you enjoyed the champagne on this fantastic day.
Thank you very much.
Alright, so we'll probably interview King of Talk if we can next. Scroll down the list to eventually find him. Eventually. Oh, perhaps he's not set his settings to be online, so he's probably further down the list. Fantastic. It's at times like this that I wish I didn't have as many friends, but still. The invite has been sent. We'll hopefully be getting King of Talk of Dynamic Esports in shortly. What was your favourite moments of the race, chat? Leave that in the comments. King of Talk, if you could just make sure that your party settings are set to always share and all that.
Yeah, it's on, bud.
Alright, so from missing qualifying and starting at the back of the grid, you have to be absolutely ecstatic, I would say, with third place here today. What are your feelings about it?
Not overly happy. It was an okay race, but turn 1 just completely ruined any chance of getting any better. I felt I could have had P2 today, or maybe even the win, I don't know. I don't know what Sailor's laps were like throughout the race, but definitely had the pace for the win, the fastest lap. Just disappointing to get caught up at turn 1.
Yeah, of course. Your teammate also finishing 4th, so just outside the podium. It's looking extremely strong in general for Dynamic Esports in the Teams Championship, but you must also be quite happy with the fact that you finished ahead of your teammate, given you're both in a championship fight at this stage of the season.
You always want to beat your teammate, obviously, and yeah, we're pushing quite far ahead now in the Constructors' Championship, so that's good. Hopefully we can retain the title from last season. And yeah, I want to try and get as many points as I can, because I'm going to miss qualifying for a few more rounds, so need to try and maximise the races.
Right, so thanks again for having this interview. Hope you enjoy the champagne that you get for 3rd, and
Thank you.
have a nice rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. Nice stream. Good job.
Ah, thanks.
See you in a bit.
I got a compliment! Who would have thought? Absolute unbelievable scenes here today on Dynamic Racing Leagues. Apple gets a compliment for his commentary. Who else shall we get in for an interview? Who's left? John Wandering, why not? Let's get good old Jono in for an interview. It was a fantastic scrap they had with Bear after all. John Wandering has just joined the party. Voice share settings and all that, you know the drill. Everything good?
Should be.
Alright, so it has to be said, although perhaps not as strong of a result as you would have hoped for with 9th, it was a fantastic scrap that you had. It was very back and forth with Bear. Any thoughts on that particular battle, or how your race went in general?
Well, the having a rough day with the Aston. Had a bunch of understeer all day. Nothing I could do pre-race or any race before fixed it, so I just keep pushing into the corners, and I guess it likes relaxing on the lawn like it's a lazy day.
Right, of course. Looking forward to the next round, just gonna quickly check, see if I can get this up on my phone, because, oh great, my phone's just died and now come back to life. So that means everything's loading back up again. I'll quickly see if I can get this up. Very professional here. Next round, Dragon Trail Seaside, Death Chicanes. Are they your favorite thing to have on the menu?
Considering I do pretty well at Dragon Trail, I don't mind it, but it all depends on if I can get the car set up right. I might be able to have a better race.
Right, so you're just hoping to perhaps just have a bit more time practicing and such in advance. Is that going to be a main focus for Moonshine Motorsports going forward?
Yeah, it's practice would help, but it's just no matter how much I practice, every time I change the car, it doesn't change how it handles. Right now I'm missing the Mercedes because that was a great handling car.
Right, of course, with the Mercedes leaving DTM and of course Aston stepping in. I assume that you've not been finding the car change as you would have hoped it to be compared to the start of the season.
No, yeah, regretting being one of the people to make the push for Aston. But yeah, I don't know. The car just feels really sluggish, and I'm not happy with it.
Alright, well hopefully the team will be able to sort that out going forward, and we'll be seeing some more fantastic battling with you and other cars throughout the rest of the season. So thanks for having this interview, and have a nice rest of your day, because you're in America, and it's still day over there.
Yeah, it's 1:45 in the afternoon, so.
Right, so enjoy yourself.
Alrighty.
Alright, so in case it wasn't obvious, the lobby did close down, hence I had to put some video of a majestic car making its way through the streets of wherever this is in the world. Of course, my own DTM entry from last season, which, if you haven't seen, the last 3 races of DRL DTM Season 1 have been put up on Dynamic Racing League, so I highly encourage you guys to check those out. It's edited highlight packages made by myself, so you can expect some somewhat alright content, I should hope. But yeah, just give it a check it out, and yeah, see if you like it or not. Of course, this being Season 2 that we were broadcasting today, so, you know, see where everyone stands after Season 1. But yeah, this has been Off Apple, Nuke Shot Off Apple, in fact, of Dynamic Racing Leagues here today. I was commentating Round 5 of Dynamic Racing League's DTM at Brands Hatch. We hope that you've enjoyed the stream. I certainly have. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.